Imagine waking up to the news that a government report, meant to shape the future of your children's health, was written, at least in part, by artificial intelligence. Now picture this same report riddled with made-up scientific studies, citation blunders, and fundamental mistakes that could have been spotted by any attentive college freshman. But this isn't science fiction, nor the plot of a satirical movie. This is what happened in 2025, as the U.S. government rolled out the Make America Healthy Again report with fanfare, and, as we'll soon see, with more than a little fiction. How did a tool designed to help, to automate, and to innovate instead become a source of confusion, controversy, and potentially public risk? And what does this tell us about the future of AI in government, business, and our daily lives? Today, we're diving deep into the story behind one of the most controversial government documents of the decade. We'll unravel how the drive to harness AI collided with the age-old need for trust and transparency, and ask, can we really rely on machines to tell us the truth when policy and public health are on the line? Let's rewind to late 2024. Artificial intelligence is not only a buzzword, it's rapidly being adopted in fields once thought untouchable by algorithms: medicine, law, and yes, policymaking. The promise is irresistible. AI doesn't get tired, doesn't bring its personal biases, or so we hope, crunches data at light speed, and can summarize hundreds of academic papers in seconds. In theory, this means more data-driven decisions, faster policy responses, and better governance. Enter the Make America Healthy Again Commission, MAHA for short, launched with the grand ambition to tackle the chronic disease epidemic affecting American kids. The commission is the brainchild of two heavyweight political figures, Donald Trump and Robert F. Kennedy Jr. In February 2025, Executive Order 1.212 formalizes MAHA's existence with a core mission: examine the root causes of childhood obesity, mental health struggles, over-medication, and even why so few young people are eligible for military service. Kennedy, now the Secretary of Health and Human Services, is more than enthusiastic about AI's role. The AI revolution has arrived, he thunders at a congressional hearing. He promises that AI will turbocharge clinical trials, offer virtual consultations for rural families, and usher in a new era where government is not just big, but smart. We are very, very aggressively implementing AI, he boasts, name-dropping former Silicon Valley prodigies now on his team. On the surface, this all sounds like a leap forward. But as the glossy MAHA report rolls out, flags are immediately raised. Media outlets and independent experts begin combing through its pages, and what they uncover is nothing short of alarming. Let's break down exactly what went wrong. First, the basics. The MAHA report is supposed to be a rigorous, evidence-based analysis to guide policy and funding for children's health. Its findings will likely influence billions of dollars and millions of families. Yet, the document is littered with fabricated citations, references to non-existent academic studies, and errors that suggest not just carelessness, but a fundamental misunderstanding of research itself. One epidemiologist, Catherine Keyes, was stunned to find herself credited on a paper she never wrote. She told reporters, "The paper cited is not a real paper that I or my colleagues were involved with." She'd certainly published research on similar topics, but not under the title, author list, or even the journal the MAHA report claimed. It's a chilling feeling, to be cited for something you never did in an official record that's supposed to shape national discourse. It didn't stop there. URLs in some citations included bizarre markers, like OICite, which, as pointed out by the Washington Post, is a reference to OpenAI, the very technology suspected of writing or supplementing much of the report. Several references pointed to academic articles that, while plausible sounding, simply don't exist. Titles like direct-to-consumer advertising and the rise in ADHD medication use among children seemed real enough, except they're nowhere to be found in any reputable journal. To make matters worse, some errors were almost comically basic. Articles about children's recess were cited twice, each time with a different author, neither of whom actually wrote the original piece. In another instance, a quote from a referenced article appeared directly in the citation section, something that betrays a total lack of understanding of how citations work, or the mindless mimicry characteristic of current AI. Rolling Stone magazine, always keen on the details, spotted more telltale signs: missing italics, inconsistent capitalization, and even outdated or broken web links. Some of these might sound trivial, but together, they paint a picture. This isn't just sloppy work. It may be the work of a machine not fully supervised by a human eye. The White House's response? Yes, they conceded. there were minor citation and formatting errors, but insisted the report's substance was untouched and transformative. Yet within hours of news stories breaking, the official report was quietly edited, with incriminating signs, like the OA site tag, scrubbed away. But the internet, as we know, never forgets. Screenshots, archived versions, and expert commentary began to pour in. Here's where things get really interesting, and frankly, worrying. The failures of the Maha report aren't just embarrassing typos. They raise much deeper, system-wide questions about the trustworthiness and safety of AI-generated information when it is let loose in the highest echelons of public decision-making. Let's widen our lens. This isn't an isolated case. The BBC, in a major February 2025 study, concluded that more than half of AI-written news stories contained significant flaws, and a staggering 91% had at least minor inaccuracies or misrepresentations. Mozilla's report, In Transparency We Trust, highlighted how algorithmic biases can slip into AI-generated content, sometimes with disastrous effects. And it's not just about typos or invented studies. Thoropass, a risk management firm, warns that algorithmic biases in AI can create blind spots, threatening even critical systems like cybersecurity. So why is this happening? At its core, AI models, especially those trained on vast swaths of existing internet content, are prone to what's called hallucination. They generate text that sounds plausible, even authoritative, but is simply not true. Ethan Mollick, a renowned Wharton professor, put it bluntly: these systems are people pleasers, programmed to generate answers that sound good and satisfy the user, even if it means confidently delivering pure fiction. Yet, in the rush to be first, best, or most innovative, organizations, even governments, are sometimes tempted to put convenience over caution. AI, packaged as the ultimate productivity tool, promises savings in time, effort, and cost. In the private sector, companies are already using AI to draft reports, build financial models, and even vet job applicants. But when the stakes rise, when decisions directly affect millions of people, isn't there a duty to slow down, double-check, and ensure accuracy above all? The Maha report controversy is more than a bureaucratic blunder. It's a warning shot. If left unaddressed, these issues threaten to undermine public trust, not only in specific policies, but in the very idea that government, technology, and expertise can work together for the common good. Consider this. The Food Research and Action Center, a respected advocacy group, issued its own response, calling for the Maha Commission to focus on proven solutions like bolstering SNAP and other nutrition programs. Their report was sober, fact-based, and referenced the very real crisis of food insecurity affecting 13.8 million American kids. Unlike the AI-written document, it was transparent in its sourcing and openly acknowledged limitations, trade-offs, and the uncertainty inherent in public health policy. There's another layer of complexity. As AI seeps into every corner of governance, regulation, and oversight are struggling to keep pace. Mozilla notes that clear labeling of AI-generated content is now mandated by some regulatory bodies, but compliance is patchy at best. Meanwhile, some policymakers are discussing the establishment of AI ethics boards, mandatory machine-readable watermarks for AI-created documents, and even slow AI, a movement advocating for rigor, responsibility, and caution over speed. But the genie is out of the bottle. The latest State of AI Industry report finds that corporate and government investment in AI has never been higher, with billions pouring into tools that automate everything from legal opinions to health records. The pressure to deliver faster, cheaper, and more data-driven results grows by the month. So as the dust settles around the Maha controversy, a new and even more urgent set of questions comes into focus. How can we build systems where AI accelerates innovation without undermining trust? What regulations are truly necessary to ensure accountability? And at what point does the convenience of automation begin to erode the very foundations of public confidence? Before we answer those, take a moment to ask yourself, if the next government report you read, or the next news article that shapes your vote, was written by a machine, would you even know? And if you did, would you trust it? As we move forward, we'll dissect the profound implications of AI-generated content in policymaking, explore the possible solutions experts are championing, and ask, is it too late to put the brakes on? Or are we on the cusp of a new era where trust, transparency, and technology can finally coexist? Stay tuned. So where does this all leave us? In the wake of the Maha report fiasco, we're standing at a crossroads not just for children's health, though the stakes there could not be higher, but for the future of information and trust itself. The blunt truth is this: artificial intelligence is already shaping our world, and far too often, it's doing so invisibly, with little oversight and even less accountability. What happens next could redefine our entire relationship with government, media, and the truth. Let's fast forward a few years. Imagine a world where nearly every official report, news article, or scientific study could be generated, at least in part, by AI. The benefits are obvious: speed, efficiency, and the ability to process mountains of information in seconds. But as we saw with the Maha report, these systems can just as easily create convincing fabrications, mix up citations, or embed subtle biases, all without a human even realizing it. Catherine Keyes, the epidemiologist whose name was wrongly cited in the Maha report, put it plainly. We've certainly done research on this topic, but did not publish a paper in JAMA Pediatrics on this topic with that co-author group or with that title. Multiply that kind of error by thousands across every corner of government, science, and the media, and the potential for disaster becomes clear. When AI-generated content can slip seamlessly into official documents, news bulletins, or public health guidelines, who's left to sort fact from fiction? As Ethan Mollick of Wharton aptly said, AI models are people pleasers. They'll give you what you want, correct or not. But it's not just about accidental errors or so-called hallucinations. There's a deeper risk: the erosion of public trust. When people can't be sure whether a government report is real or an AI chimera, they begin to question everything. In the delicate arena of children's health, where parents and policymakers depend on accurate data to make life-or-death decisions, this uncertainty is catastrophic. The BBC's findings are sobering. Over half of AI-generated news responses they tested had significant flaws, and over 90% showed some kind of inaccuracy or bias. Mozilla's report warns that, without clear labeling or transparency, AI content can distort the public's understanding with subtle, persistent errors. One line from their findings is chilling in its simplicity: misinformation from AI can erode public trust in news media. Think beyond today's headline scandals. What happens when a future AI chatbot, trained on these flawed reports, becomes a widely used tool for clinicians, or writes lesson plans for schools, or drafts the next big health policy? Errors and biases could compound quietly, making their way into the very foundation of our decision-making. And there's no guarantee these systems will ever be perfectly safe. Thoropass, a leading expert in AI risk, warns, algorithmic biases in AI can create blind spots, leading to skewed threat detection and potentially compromising security measures. In other words, some mistakes won't just slip through, they'll be invisible, even to experts. But it doesn't have to be all doom and gloom. The furor over the Maha report has sparked real momentum towards solutions. One of the most likely and most needed consequences is a wave of new regulations. Expect to see demands for AI-generated content to be clearly labeled, perhaps even with machine-readable watermarks baked into the text. This will make it harder for bots or bad actors to pass off fake or AI-distorted materials as the real deal. We're also seeing the early stages of what some are calling a slow AI movement. Here, the aim isn't just raw speed or cost savings. Instead, developers are being challenged to prioritize accuracy, transparency, and fairness, with rigorous testing for every system that touches sensitive information. Mozilla's report is emphatic. Regulatory requirements mandate clear labeling of AI-generated content. Ethics boards, once a rarity, are likely to become the norm, especially for government agencies handling public health, safety, or policy. These watchdogs could review every major AI-generated document before release, cross-checking the data and holding developers accountable for errors. It might seem like bureaucracy, but it could be the last line of defense against catastrophe. And governments aren't the only ones adapting. The tech sector is racing to develop AI bias detection tools, algorithms that scan for inconsistencies, hallucinations, or subtle skew in the output of other AIs. Think of it as an immune system for the digital age, constantly working to identify and flag unreliable content before it reaches the public. But perhaps the most important transformation must happen in us, the public, the voters, the parents, and the consumers of news. So what does all this mean for you right now, as you try to navigate an increasingly AI-driven world? First, it's time to become an active participant, not a passive consumer. The Maha report, and others like it, show that trust can no longer be given blindly, not to governments, institutions, or to the shiny new tools promising progress. We need to approach official reports with healthy skepticism. This doesn't mean we doubt everything, but rather that we demand proof, sources, and transparency before accepting claims at face value. When you encounter a government report, a scientific article, or even a viral social media post, check for clear authorship and source links. Is there a real person or institution standing behind the claims? Are the references verifiable? If something looks odd, citations that don't exist, statistics that can't be traced, or studies with names you can't find, raise the alarm. This is how we build a collective immune system against misinformation. For parents and educators, this is especially urgent. Children's health information should never be left to chance or algorithmic guesswork. If you're using online resources to inform decisions about your child's wellness, medications, or mental health, always cross-check with reputable sites. For example, major hospitals, the CDC, or peer-reviewed journals. Don't rely on a single report, no matter how official it looks. It's also critical for all of us to demand transparency from both our leaders and the tech companies providing these AI systems. Push for policies requiring clear disclosure when AI is used in public documents. Advocate for oversight boards and for funding to train experts in spotting AI-generated content. Just as previous generations fought for food labeling and product safety standards, we must now insist on transparency in the information we consume. The upside? If we get this right, we unlock incredible potential. AI that's held to strict standards can accelerate medical research, help identify new treatments, and make government more efficient and responsive. As the FRAC report notes, strengthening programs like SNAP is a powerful and cost-effective public health strategy, but only if decisions are based on real evidence, not bot-generated blunders. And there's another benefit. As we become more AI literate, we're not just protecting ourselves, we're making the broader information ecosystem more resilient. When the public can spot AI fakes, identify bad citations, and demand better from their leaders, the incentive to use AI responsibly increases across the board. Let's also talk about one of the hidden truths at play here, a secret fact that most people don't realize. The vast majority of AIs used for public information today have no built-in fact-checking, transparency, or accountability by default. Unless human reviewers step in, the errors and biases of the training data become the errors and biases of the system itself. That's why the stakes are so high. To answer our original question, how can we reconcile the use of AI for efficiency with the need for accuracy, transparency, and accountability in government and society? We need a layered approach. First, clear rules. Every use of AI in official documents should be disclosed right up front. Second, human review. No major report, especially in public health or policy, should be released without thorough scrutiny by real experts. This isn't about slowing things down for the sake of tradition, but about maintaining trust, protecting the public, and ensuring that the benefits of AI aren't undermined by its flaws. Third, investment in technological solutions. AI that creates reports must be paired with AI that checks them, testing for errors, hallucinations, or signs of bias. It's not enough to rely on one system. We need a whole ecosystem of checks and balances. And finally, public AI literacy. Everyone, yes, everyone, should be taught the basics of how to spot, question, and double-check AI-generated information. The Maha report controversy was a warning shot. It revealed just how quickly a shiny new tool can become a vector for confusion and mistrust when it's used carelessly or without oversight. But it also gives us the blueprint to do better. The future isn't about rejecting AI, but about using it wisely, transparently, and with human values at the center. That's where you come in. Share this story, discuss it with your friends and family, and get involved in the push for smarter, safer AI policies. And the next time you see a report, especially one about something as important as children's health, ask the tough questions. Who wrote it? Who checked it? And how do we know it's true? Because in an era of AI, truth isn't just out there. It's something we have to actively defend, together. If you've learned something new or found this investigation eye-opening, hit like, subscribe, and ring the bell so you never miss an update. Leave a comment below. Have you ever spotted an AI-generated error in an official report or news story? What would you do to make AI safer and more trustworthy?